Today, we'll be looking at people who aren't famous, as it were, but they have a certain online following, or at least notoriety. And they use their online presence to be utterly ghastly. Today is the 20th of June, it's the summer solstice, and of course a World Heritage Site associated with the solstice is right here in England, and it's Stonehenge. So yesterday, the climate change protest group Just Stop Oil decided to pay it a visit. These are the two people responsible for this, what they're calling a protest, but I think the rest of us can see it as what it is. It's fucking vandalism. The man on the left is in his early 70s. The thing on the right is 21 years old, female, but is non-binary and uses they, them pronouns. Because, of course, if lecturing people on your pronouns isn't irritating enough, go and desecrate a World Heritage Monument. And the odd thing is that Stonehenge is home to dozens of incredibly rare species which won't react well to having paint sprayed on them. So these are environmentalists going out of their way to make a few species extinct. And of course, no one really knows how Stonehenge was made, but we can be fairly sure that the Neolithic stonemasons who created it weren't using diesel-powered earth-moving equipment. When it comes to Just Stop Oil, I don't think it matters to them what they vandalise, provided they get to vandalise something. As long as they can mess up a tourist day out or fuck up a school field trip, then they're happy. Recently, they tried to attack one of the issues of the Magna Carta, but the cretins they sent to carry out the task didn't understand how to break toughened glass. They've gone for portraits, the Natural History Museum, they even messed up a televised snooker tournament. I would love to know what their WhatsApp group is like. It's got to be the weirdest echo chamber in the world. Whilst they're telling each other, yes, let's go and do some important activism, unaware that the rest of the world fucking hates them. In many ways, they remind me of Extinction Rebellion, inasmuch as I agree with some of the things they have to say. It's just the way they say it that alienates every sane man and woman on the street. Actually, what has happened to Extinction Rebellion? It used to be barely a day went by without one of their morons gluing themselves to a bus. Have Extinction Rebellion gone extinct? And Just Stop Oil used to use very similar tactics, inasmuch as they'd sit in the street and cause traffic jams with no sense of irony. They'd block the traffic so there'd be cars, buses, lorries, etc. with their engines just idling, creating pollution for no good reason, or creeping forward slowly, which is when the internal combustion engine is at its least efficient and creates the most pollution. So their way to protest against climate change was to generate more of it. But the thing I utterly despise about Just Stop Oil is the way that its activists sit there smugly waiting to get arrested. The solution, I think, is very, very simple. When these two get taken to court, the judge shouldn't let them off with a fine and a slap on the wrist. He should impose, or she, the maximum prison sentence and then send them to the roughest prisons available. Because I bet our friend in his early 70s will stop worrying about whether or not I'm using low-energy light bulbs when he has to spend every night getting forcibly buggered by Big Mad Vinny from D-Wing and every morning with a needle and thread trying to sew himself a new arsehole. Also, I have my own tactic should I ever encounter Just Stop Oil. If I'm out for the day and they start vandalising something, I'll wait for them to sit down and wait to get arrested, and when the police arrive, I'll shout, "Officer, he said he's got a gun," and then watch them get tasered by the old Bill. And when it comes to sitting across the road, causing traffic jams, that's also very simple to remedy. Get the nearest farmer to go down there with his combine harvester. That'll soon get them moving, and if a few of them get minced, all that will mean for humanity is, as a species collectively, our IQ will get very slightly higher. Next up, we have a chap who's been featured on my channels several times. He pretends to be a food blogger and he's best known by the nickname Buffalo Grill. But it appears, since he's had his knackers hacked off, he has abandoned his hobby of trying to get low-paid waiting staff fired because they use the wrong pronouns. And instead, he's now decided to be an internet presenter. When it comes to the whole trans thing, if you're an adult, you do you. All I think sensible people ask is, keep it away from children. For fuck's sake.
Friends, today we're going to talk about something super important, what it means to be transgender. It's a big word, but I promise that it's easy to understand. Ready to learn? The first thing I want you to do is close your eyes. Now think, do you feel like a boy, a girl, or a little bit of both? Do you have your answer? Great. Now I want you to imagine that everyone keeps telling you that you're something else, even though in your heart, you know who you are. Wouldn't that make you sad inside? People who feel like this are transgender. And if you're not transgender, it's super easy to be friends with someone who is. Let's take our imaginary friend Theo, for example. One day you notice that Theo starts wearing girl clothes instead of boy clothes, and then they tell you that they want to be called Luna instead of Theo. This is so exciting for our friend Luna because they finally get to be their true self. And if you accidentally call Luna by their old name, make sure to say a big sorry and that you'll do better next time. As you can see, transgender people are just like you.
What I find terrifying is how simplistic that clip seems to make the trans issue. If you don't know who you are, it isn't that you're a child whose brain hasn't finished developing, who may not have been through puberty. No, it means you're transgender. Transgender, that's a big word, isn't it? It's 3 fucking syllables. Let's think of another 3-syllable word, completely at random, in no way connected to that video clip. Paedophile, or pedophile if you're watching in the promised land beyond the horizon. And the thing is, with Theo becoming Luna, we don't know what's going on at home. It may be that Theo was showing signs of being homosexual because sadly, for many gay kids with woke parents, Pray the Gay Away has become Trans the Gay Away. It could also be that Luna has a very, very pushy mummy who needs a lot of attention. And she knows that if she has a trans child, that will get her in the local paper, maybe even on the telly, and it'll get her invited to all the best parties. Plus, it's a way to get back at her bastard of a husband who cheated on her and ran off with his secretary. Because if either of those scenarios were to be real, there's a very good chance that in the near future, Luna's mummy would find Luna dangling from the light fitting in Luna's bedroom. Or maybe Luna would stop playing rubber ducks in the bath and instead take in an electric toaster. And if you call someone by their old name, say a big sorry. Why? The vast majority of trans kids grow out of it. It's just a phase. And the thing is, our friend Buffalo Grill, despite all the surgery and all the makeup he's wearing, I still think he looks slightly less feminine than me. Remarkably, the next person we're going to see is even creepier, because I've got a clip from Jeffrey Marsh. And if you don't know who he is, Jeff claims to be trans, although he's not transitioning to anything. In my opinion, and I'll own it, he's a cross-dressing pervert who appears to have a very questionable interest in children. If you don't know the story, Jeff set up a Patreon where children of any age could talk to him about any subject without their parents knowing, whilst recording TikToks encouraging children to break all contact with their families and that he would be their family. Then he started frantically deleting these TikToks when this came to light. Something completely unconnected. What's it called if you're taking care of a horse? Grooming. Anyway, back to Jeff. He is overjoyed because apparently J.K. Rowling could be losing the rights to Harry Potter.
Hi, you won against Ms. Rowling. No, it hasn't quite happened yet, and this is conjecture and rumor. But there's a person named Jeffrey Schneider who's an insider in film and television. And in his newsletter, he said that Warner Brothers has been trying to buy the Harry Potter franchise from J.K. Rowling largely because the actors refuse to do another project unless she's gone because of her transphobic comments. So because of boycotts, because of you speaking up, because of you making her views, her bigotry a liability, she's starting to pay the price. Thank you so much for caring. Thank you so much for caring. It is working. Keep it up.
Just how warped would you have to be almost crying with joy because you, and your allies, who are made up entirely of virtue-signalling half-wits, have been bullying people to the point that a woman who he's never met is on the edge of losing her entire legacy. Now, I've never read a Harry Potter book, and J.K. Rowling has never actually said anything transphobic. She wrote a story in which a man disguised himself as a woman to carry out a murder, and she's been very vocal in the way that trans rights are encroaching on women's rights. But like I said, I've never read any of the books because when they were released, I was in my early 20s, and people would ask me, "Are you reading Harry Potter?" And I'd always reply with the same thing. No, because I'm a fucking adult. And I think it's worth remembering that as a younger woman, J.K. Rowling left an abusive relationship, thus becoming a single mother who spent some of her free time in Greyfriars Cemetery in her native Edinburgh, looking at the gravestones, and that's where she got the names for the characters of the Harry Potter books. Now she's a self-made billionaire, and of course, for people like Geoffrey Marsh, in a movement that has so much misogyny, there's nothing worse than a successful woman. As for the actors who've turned their back on her, frankly, fuck them. Take Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson. What would they be now without Harry Potter? Who knows, their acting careers may have consisted of being extras in soap operas and being in a few adverts. And more to the point, what have they done since? Nothing that notable. Watson is now just a moaning feminazi, and Radcliffe has starred in a series of box office failures. There is one thing though, a good thing, because that article that Geoffrey Marsh is so happy about is absolute bullshit. Every word in that article was nothing but clickbait. There's nothing factually correct. And that makes sense because, although here in the UK, if the government decide to put a railway through where your house is, they can issue you with a compulsory purchase order. That doesn't apply to intellectual property. A film studio cannot demand the rights to a book series if the author doesn't want to sell it. And that video is around a week old. I'm hoping that by now the pendulum has swung the other way, and that all that joy that Geoffrey was feeling has been replaced with a horrible, vapid emptiness. So we've seen Just Stop Oil, who act like spoilt children, and two men who, in my opinion, well, I wouldn't leave them alone with children. I've got one more clip, it's very short, and it's not of someone famous. At least, if they are, I don't know who they are. But this person is a drag queen, and I've tacked this on because a lot of drag queens, they seem to demand to be around young children as well. Now, personally, I don't like drag. I think it's insulting to everything feminine. It's a mockery of womanhood. But I like this clip. This is a drag queen trying a little bit too hard. Ooh, bet that hurt. That's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe if you haven't already. Click the notification bell, and as ever, thanks for watching. Today, we'll be looking at people who aren't so much famous, but have on left is in his 70s, and the thing on the right is a non-binary they, them, who's female and goes to Oxford University. And because, well, fuck it, non-binary type who uses they, them pronouns. And I'm guessing this individual had to go on this demonstration because if they didn't, then something would happen where they weren't the centre of fucking attention. Damage one of the copies of the Magna Carta, which essentially is what the Bill of Rights for most countries around the world is based on. They were trying to damage the document that states that the government, if they're doing something the government doesn't like, can't just send its soldiers to fucking kill them, like children. We've seen Buffalo Grill and Geoffrey Marsh, who I guess could be joined by the child catcher from Chitty Chitty. Oh, fuck it. Joined by the child catcher from Chitty Chitty. Oh, fuck. Why can't I say that? Child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And now I forgot the next fucking line. Already on.